guys, so this is what if Daku was a lycan part 2. Part 1 came out months ago, and I'm just getting back on my what ifs I've done like months ago, or I've done like a long time ago, and getting back on track of those. After this video, I will be uploading the next, I think, 3 or 4 videos I have after this. And after I make those videos, I can start on planning out next week's what if videos. I got 3 or 2 people in my comments and also my commentary asking for certain what if, like part 2 or 3 to what if Ben 10 was an invincible, and a couple other what ifs, and all the other stuff. Now basically let's get into it, guys. To start our story off, basically last time we left off, we see Daku and Kirishima going back to, well, UA for the second day of UA for the combat training, or just the second day of UA so they don't know their combat training. As we do this, we see that they both, walk into the, pretty much, what was it? They walk into the, they walk into the building, basically getting ready, and then get into, their uniforms, and they go to school the next day. As they get into the class, basically, the class goes somewhere the same, until All Might shows up in the middle of class, explaining to the class they're doing quirk combat training. Now, last time I left off, guys, I told you guys, pretty much, what was it? I told you guys the, I told you guys the UA students that were changed, or that were half-bloods, or were half werewolf or half human. So, let me go over those real quick. So, basically, let's go over the list of UA. Now, for pretty much, what is it? For Ida, he's going to be a quirk person, just like an original. Ochaku is a half-blood, half-vampire, half-quirk user. Todoroki is a half-vampire. And so basically, moving on, laser quirk guy, or Yomada. Because right now, like, this is just I'm not actually saying this, but Yomada, I think, the blonde-haired kid, basically, he's gonna be a quirk user. Mina, quirk user. Suyu, quirk user. Ida, quirk user. Ochaku, half-blood. Ojiro, quirk user. Denki, quirk user. Kirishima, lycan. Koda, or I don't remember his name, cause like the focusing on my phone. You probably can see it nice, but I can't really see it. But basically, the sound quirk guy, or the guy that can talk to animals, quirk person, Soto. I'm pretty sure. He's a half lycan, half quirk user. Meaning he's not as strong as a full-blooded lycan, but he can get halfway there because he can use Sugar Rush in his wolf form. So yeah. And for the Duplo arm guy, quirk user, Jiro. Jiro would have been a quirk person. Zero would be quirk person. Tokiyami, Todoroki, half blood. Toru, she would be a quirk person. Bakugo, quirk person. Deku, lycan. Mineta, a quirk person. And Momo, a half blood. Half vampire, half quirk person. So let's get into it. Let's get back on the story. So basically, as we continue on our story, we basically see our protagonists, or the main character, Deku, basically get ready, and all of them get, shown their hair costumes. So Deku's hair costume, what he described it for the hero, makers, or like the people that make their suits, to make his suit look like, he wanted it to be a lot more tactical and be able to morph with his wolf form, or be able to at least go somewhere when he transforms, so he won't be all ripped up. So basically, mainly he wanted to have it, slightly flashy, but have a little bit more of abundance of red or black, a little bit of white, and basically have it a little bit kind of like a type of American hero calls himself Moon Knight. Basically, pretty much, he just wanted his hero costume to be a little bit more tactical. So if he couldn't transform, or if he didn't want to transform as a lycan, he could just use his lycan strength he already has in his human form in his tactical suit, because he wanted his suit to be really tactical so it could take on bullets and gunshots, because Deku can hail from them, but it still does hurt. And basically, also, Deku wanted to have a little bit of abundance of a weapon, kind of like a dagger or something. he already is a weapon kind of, since he is like a lycan, but still he didn't Deku liked, and then like he preferred using his claws because it felt a little bit more, whole to him, but still he wanted a little bit more of a tactical military type of fit. Now basically what Deku got after his, whole entire description of what his outfit wanted to be. So Deku's hero costume Deku's hero costume would be this. Basically, it looks cool, and basically it's more to the design or the liking of Deku. And Deku would see it and basically would be very excited and said it was perfect. Basically, it being the exact, exact visual, thing he wanted his hero outfit to be. Basically, it being military grade, it being also sleek, slightly flashy, not actually even flashy, because Deku would, want to be a type of, what was it, stealth hero of sorts, or basically be a night hero, kind of like a Zao, but still be able to work in the day, because he mainly wanted to be a night hero, but he still wanted to, he was going to be like a fluent hero. Basically, him working at all hours of the day. Basically, pretty much what would happen is pretty much, Deku's hero costume would be, tactical, and also would be bulletproof and also fireproof. Basically, his mask having good insulating, meaning that, in fact, that his suit would be able to block any type of poison or poison gas, like, silver gas or gas that can, hurt a lycan. Basically, his pretty much, his suit being very much only made for all combatants, or to help him so he won't get injured and he won't feel the pain of, getting stabbed, shot, killed, or halfway killed, stuff like that. But basically, his his suit would have been very much, based off or focused on tactical type of fighting, or pretty much just stealth in general, since his claws would be, or the fabric would be very thin on his claws, but be very flexible at the same time, meaning that he could attract his claws. Deku could attract his claws, making his claws, elongate and still be as sharp as they were, even though, they're covered by a black type of fabric. So, yeah. And also his suit, it had a couple of gadgets like smoke bombs, smoke pellets, and also a little bit of a flash, or a mini, like, compact flash grenade in the size of like a golf ball. Now basically, pretty much, his suit and also his mask would be kind of like, Batman Beyond type of head display, or be a type of, Iron Man type head display. It being able to get turned off so we can just see normally, and also he would have a very good sense of sight throughout the mask. Surprisingly, very good sight, but still no one could see through the mask because it would be tinted. So basically, his mask would be very complex and very durable. But anything over the power of like a Detroit Smash or like All Might, pretty much it could easily, punch or kick through the mask. Now basically, let's get into it, guys. Basically, after pretty much the whole entire, showcase of everybody's outfits, Kirishima's outfit would be the same. It's just being called Wolf Riot. And basically also for everybody else's outfit, basically Ochaku would have still the same outfit, just some of the lighter pink being a little bit of a darker than just light. And basically also for Ochaku's outfit, it would be similar to the same, but the white in her outfit would be replaced with a dark black. Now basically this gets switched into the episode. When we start off our episode, I'm gonna be actually going over everybody's pretty much the people that teamed up, because their stories did change since they are born different. And basically, I'm going to be narrating how the fight would go down, since they would be half lycan, half vampire. Basically, when we start our episode, we basically see that Deku gets ready and is also teamed up with Ochaku. He doesn't really talk to Ochaku, telling her to do her own thing, basically leaving her behind, because he doesn't really like associating himself with vampires. He does know that, Ochaku is, well, half lycan, but still he doesn't really care. So what he does is basically they get into the building and they start to walk around. Basically, as the fight progresses, we basically see that, well, as their mission progresses, we see that Deku's running through the halls where Ochaku's, following after him using her vampire speed, basically following after Deku. For Half-Bloods, they have the powers of a quirk user, but basically that you have a little bit of the they don't have any of the downfalls of a vampire, except for vampire weaknesses like getting stabbed through the heart and aesthetic rating. But anybody can get stabbed through their heart and they would most likely die. But basically, also that's only that type of weakness a Half-Blood has. A Half-Blood can be weakened by a very concentrated beam of light, not just by the sun. I mean like a very concentrated, like a pure blast of solar radiation straight towards their body, just killing them kind of like normal sunlight would do a vampire. Now, basically, it would have some of the abilities of a vampire, like super strength, super durability, and a slight super strength. And I mean, as strong as a full-blooded vampire, but having kind of a 2 times strong boost, like a strength boost 2 times stronger than their original strength. So a Half-Blood can train really hard and get to the strength of a vampire, but if they have a quirk, doesn't really matter. Now, Chakra doesn't really train her body to make her vampire side stronger, so she can only, use the essentials like super speed or like some of her vampire senses, like super hearing and stuff like that. Now, as they're going through the halls, we pretty much see our boy Bakugo. Not everybody's boy, but like I personally don't like Bakugo. He's kind of a smug brat, and he's actually just a jerk. But as they do this, we basically see that Bakugo tries to go for Deku after he sees Deku in the hallway. He throws a huge explosion towards Deku, and Deku dodges it, jumping off the ceiling, pretty much Spider-Man style, and basically doing the same type of thing, dodging explosions out of the drones. Basically doing the same type of dodging thing that pretty much, doing the same type of dodging thing Spider-Man Far From Home did, basically jumping off the walls of the hallway and dodging the explosions instead of drones. Basically him just, dodging the explosions and eventually getting his way like a foot away from Bakugo, grabbing Bakugo by the blonde hair and dragging him around the room like a freaking ragdoll, throwing him into walls, crushing him into doors, and pretty much just pummeling him down to the ground. As this is happening, Bakugo's coughing up blood, and Bakugo throws a huge explosion last minute towards Deku's chest, pushing Deku back. Since his suit is mainly focused on durability and stealth, and basically, mainly durability, pretty much the explosion slightly damages Deku, but since his lycan healing plus the suit did dampen some of the damage, he's barely phased, him being pushed back only like a foot. And basically, only like a feet. Basically, he runs towards Bakugo again and kicks the wall, but Bakugo dodges at the last minute, and as Bakugo sees what he did to the wall, Deku kicks the wall with such a strength that it makes at least like a whole like shield or Captain America's shield sized crater in the wall. Basically, it looking like if Bakugo didn't move, he would be dead. Now, as Bakugo backed up, he pulled both of the pins on his gauntlets, basically pushing as strong an explosion as he could, him using most of his leg strength to stay balanced and into, his stance, pushing Deku back. As Deku was being pushed back, he would push into a wall, basically him falling into a bunch of rubble from the wall. As it was happening, Deku's pretty much head display would have gone to whack, and Deku would just turn off his head display. Basically, his head display only being there for like information, like if he was tracking down a villain or for like detective work, stuff like that, because Deku does want to be a type of, detective slash problem solver type of hero. And basically, as Deku gets up, he pretty much backs up and basically, goes a little bit of stealth. Since he was trained for a little bit of stealth, since werewolves are very stealthy and come out of nowhere to just, attack you and injure right there. But basically, you see that Deku runs into the shadows and pretty much is on top of the ceiling. Basically, him being on top of the ceiling behind a pillar. As Bakugo was going through the wall he threw Deku with, Throw Deku in, he starts looking around. As Deku sees that Bakugo's right underneath him, he jumps down all Batman style and starts to beat Bakugo senseless, kind of like how Batman just does, like just beating him senseless. Like straight up beating the absolute crud out of Bakugo. Bakugo's nose is halfway broken, not completely, but halfway. Some of his teeth have been knocked loose, and he is coughing up a ungodly amount of blood. Basically, him grabbing Bakugo and chucking him out the window. But the last minute, he takes out a little bit of a gadget and basically latches it onto Bakugo's foot and hangs him over the window. Basically, Bakugo soon, finding his balance and climbing himself back into the window or back into the building, but passes out because of the, pain. And basically, as we see this happen, Ochaku walks over to Bakugo and starts to sniff his blood. Her eyes glowing brighter blue, and her, fangs showing. As Deku walks over to her, he grabs her by the arm and tells her, "Don't do it." And basically looking at her all. Now, you can't really recognize Deku's face expression through the mask, but what Deku's giving her is kind of a death stare, but it's kind of more menacing because he's not saying anything. Plus, he has that mask that just seals his face emotion and his face. And also, there's a little bit of more tech in his suit that allows his helmet to go a little bit of a camera sensor, meaning that it flashes a certain light towards cameras, meaning that no one can pick up his helmet, but he doesn't really need that since his helmet already hides his identity. Basically, some of the tech that they put in the outfit, Deku plans on taking it out since he doesn't want to be too OP, and also he doesn't want it to be more or less like a second-hand item to him, so because he doesn't want to rely on technology as much as he's doing now, but he does like his gadgets. Basically, Deku doesn't have the amount of gadgets like Batman, but has a good amount. And basically, let's get into it. So basically, as the episode progresses, we see that Deku starts to throw more kicks, punches, and just throws at Ida. Because at this point, pretty much, Deku just sprint up the... I didn't really sprint. He just climbed on, the whole entire... that walkway on the stairs. Pretty much, he went to the, between the stairs. Basically, just straight up, just jumping right through them. Just jumping all the way up, right on top of where the bomb room was, and kicks the door down so hard that the door goes flying, almost hitting Ida. Catching Ida off guard, Ida dodges out the way, but he's caught off guard, and Deku throws a punch towards him. Ida falls back into into a pillar, getting a punch to the pillar, and Ida speed kicks pretty much Deku. As Ida trained harder since he doesn't want to be, overpowered by anybody like a vampire or a werewolf or a half-blood. Him pretty much being trained a lot harder, and him kicking a very more devastating punch towards Deku's back. Because if this was a normal person, Deku's back would have been obliterated and he would have been paralyzed. Ida would have kicked him through the pillar, basically Deku falling through the pillar, or pretty much being thrown to the pillar, passing through it, just breaking through it, and then passing to another pillar right behind it, him falling down to the ground in a bunch of rubble. As he gets back up, he grabs a piece of rubble and chucks it basketball style straight towards Ida's face. Ida dodges it, but out of nowhere, Deku uses his lycan speed, or as much speed as he possibly can muster up, to the point 1 to point A, or the point A to point B. Basically, just trying to build up as much speed without having a lot of space to build up speed. He sprints or speed blitzes straight towards Ida, grabbing Ida by the throat, and pretty much throwing this guy like a freaking rag doll down to the ground. As Ida is knocked out, we see that Deku grabs the bomb, or he's about to, but Bakugo got back up somehow, throwing another explosion towards Deku. Deku dodges it, basically being confused on how you're still standing. Bakugo says, "I have more willpower than you think." Basically out of nowhere, Ochaku knocks out Bakugo by a punch upside the head, and Deku catches the bomb, and pretty much they win. Now basically, pretty much after that, the rest of the team, the rest of the students, pretty much get told about the whole situation and about how it did go well. Ozawa does not admire, but he does see the tactical advantages of Deku's suit, and does smirk, basically knowing that Deku may one day be able to work alongside him if he gets older or later on in his hero career. Now let's get into it, guys. And basically, I'm going to switch on to the rest of the story. And basically, the rest of the story would go similar to the same. Basically, the same teams that won would win still, and the same teams that lost would lose too. Now, Sugar Rush's team, if Sugar Rush's team, or Sugar Rush and his partner, if they didn't win before, they do now, because Sugar Rush is pretty strong. Ain't as strong as Deku or Kirishima by any means, but strong enough. Now, Kirishima didn't lose. Kirishima didn't win his original game or his original match, kind of like in canon. Or I'm pretty sure he won last time in the original. But if he didn't, he wins now since he is a lycan. And plus, he's a lycan. Plus, he does have a kind of a defect or kind of a cool thing with him having, a hardened type of werewolf form. But basically, after that, Kirishima compliments Deku on his hero costume, saying it's really cool, but him also saying it's not as flashy as mine. I'm running black, and plus I have red hair. It kind of is flashy. But pretty much Deku says my suit is mainly focused on stealth, durability, and also tacticality. Because in some instances I might need gadgets, stuff like that, smoke bombs for a clean getaway, stuff like that. Basically, Kirishima says, okay, Batman. Basically, him referring to American hero in the U.S. Basically, Deku saying, I'm not Batman. And basically, we see that Deku pretty much, gets it out of his hero costume. Basically, him admiring it because it would be pretty cool hero costume. And pretty much, Kirishima would have said, it's pretty cool, but just put it away. And basically, after they get back into their, uniforms of school, after that, they get sent back home. And pretty much, I'm going to leave off the episode here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If it wasn't as action-packed as you thought it was, it is going to be. Because I ain't going to leave it off this dry and just get into it even more a little bit, kind of like I did before. After Kirishima and Deku walk back home, pretty much Deku goes into his room, and Kirishima goes to his house, to his room. And as he's doing this, basically Deku hears something in the distance in his front yard. He walks out of his house and basically starts to look around. As he's looking around, he hears something weird, menacing. He looks up and he sees a man in some sort of black trench coat and leather. Basically him looking at Deku down from afar, saying, pretty much him saying, this is going to be fun. The man jumps down vampire style. Basically Deku knowing he's a vampire since the way he jumped down. Pretty much the man takes out 2 guns, silver bullets, and starts to shoot towards Deku. Deku dodges as much bullets as he can, wearing kind of a type of outfit like this with a little bit of black wristbands. Basically, we see that Deku just starts to go wham on this stranger, this death dealer. Basically, it's shooting multiple times towards Deku as much as possible. This death dealer not really having a face, since it would have a type of mask similar to Deathstroke's mask. Basically, having, instead of blue and yellow or blue and orange, would be like a black and gray type of mask. Basically having a type of Deathstroke mask, just the color being changed to black and gray. Now, as he was shooting towards Deku, he would run out of bullets and he would take out a silver sword. Basically him having the same type of skill as Deathstroke, being kind of a main protagonist for Deku now. Basically, as Deku was dodging the cuts, slashes, and, stab wounds, basically he would have dodged more and more attacks until he was cut through the stomach by a silver blade, him falling down to the ground and bleeding out. Now, it didn't cut deep enough to get to his internal organs, but it would cut deep enough to make Deku start to bleed out. As Deku was looking towards the man says, let's finish this, boy. Him having his sword, clenching it tighter, about to cut off Deku's head, kind of like how they did in the olden days, the werewolves. Pretty much out of nowhere, Deku's father jumps in, basically dodging or grabbing the blade, ripping it out of Deku's hand, ripping it out of the Death Lord's hand and kicking him down to the ground. As pretty much the man falls back, he goes into the shadows throwing smoke bombs, basically him, disappearing into the night. As we see the man go back to his base, he gets, interrupted by another death dealer, a female one. Us getting shown that death dealer may be his wife or his girlfriend. And as this is happening, basically he tells her that something's going on and we need to get rid of that boy. He's more of a danger than you think he is, and he's also the only thing that can jeopardize our mission. She says it's okay, and basically we get shown that this death dealer is none other than Dobby. Basically, Dobby being half vampire, kind of like his brother and his other brother. Since in this world they would be half vampires, half-bloods, half-bloods, because pretty much their mother would be a half-blood, but she would have a little bit more vampire-dominant genes than quirk genes. But she would still have that ice quirk though, that she would pass down to her kids. And Dobby would still have that, fire power that his father had. Him being a half-blood type of death dealer as well. Him being able to use flames and also his vampire side perfectly well, then balancing out each other. Basically, him training his body to get at the same strength of a full-blooded vampire. Now, as we see Dobby pretty much size, and pretty much we get shown that Daku, for some reason, is a key to taking down the League of Villains. Basically, the League of Villains in this world would be death dealers. Them believing that all half-blooded things, like half-blooded lycans or half-blooded lycans and other mystical creatures, should all just be dead alongside other quirk users and humans. Basically, all the members of the League of Villains would be half-bloods, and also All for One would be as well. Basically, pretty much, I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Part 3 is gonna be a doozy. Gonna be really action-packed. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys later. Bye. Deuces, as always, guys. Have a blessed day.